Hi, it's Monty from Sportive Cyclist, and in this video I'm going to be doing some work to upgrade my Trek Domane road bike. This one here, now this is a Trek Domane 4.3 from 2013, and like many Trek road bikes from this generation and up until very recent times, it has a BB90 bottom bracket. The bottom bracket aficionados out there will know that the BB90 standard from Trek does not get a great press. Trek owners will complain about the bottom bracket creaking, making excessive noise, and often it requires you to replace the bottom bracket bearings on a too frequent basis. Now, to be fair to my bike, I managed to ride it for 7 years without having to replace said bottom bracket bearings. I finally got round to doing it last year in 2020. Now, I was reasonably happy with how the bearing replacement process went. I found it reasonably straightforward. Afterwards, the bike rode a lot smoother. But it wasn't long before the noises, the cracks, the creaks in my bottom bracket returned. And then serendipity struck. Someone commented on my BB90 bearing replacement video that they'd found an alternative bottom bracket solution, the Token Ninja BB3724. Token make a number of different aftermarket bottom bracket type systems, and this is the one that can be used for bikes that have a BB90 standard. So it's not quite a press fit bottom bracket, nor is it a threaded one. It's sort of telescopic. Well, hopefully you'll see how it works. Talking of which, in the rest of this video, I'm going to get the crankset out of the bike. I'm going to take out the bearings that I've already got in there. I'm going to attempt to fit this in, and I'll talk a bit more about the Token Ninja bottom bracket system as we go throughout. Quick disclaimer, I'm what's known in the cycling industry as an mécanique incompetent. So don't necessarily follow what I do blindly, use it as a guide, use your judgment. But if I'm successfully able to fit the Token bottom bracket and the bike is rideable at the end of all this, hopefully that will give you the confidence to tackle some of these bigger maintenance / improvement jobs on your own road bike. So the first bit I know how to do, I'll remove the chain, I'll take off the cranks and then extract the old bearings.
Let's go!
Doesn't know how to put gloves on though, does he? With the crankset removed, you can see the BB90 bottom bracket in all of its glory. This is an official Trek replacement bearing. It has a plastic dust cover cum diameter reducer that the crankshaft goes through. The bearings themselves sit behind the plastic cover. Inside there's a little plastic tube, I suppose, that prevents the shaft of the crankshaft here getting muck and grime on it from within the frame. So all of that will need to come out in order for me to fit the Token one. Right, time to hammer and do things which are a bit scary to a carbon frame. To take out the official BB90 bottom bracket bearings, you need to use this bottom bracket bearing remover, which you slide through here until it clicks. There we go. And you find a mallet. A quick first glimpse of the bearing as it's being pushed out. I'll take it over and show you it, but as you can see, it's pretty grimy already. This has not been in the bike more than about 14 months. I'll get the other one out now. just a plastic cap. Another example of why the BB90 press fit bottom bracket is a bit of a pain. Quick word on my use of the screwdriver there, in case you were concerned I was using it to prise out the bearing pushing against the carbon fibre of the frame. I was in fact just trying to push back the plastic sheath inside in order to provide enough of the inner rim of the bearing to show, such that the bearing extractor tool had enough purchase on the edge of the bearing such that I can sort of hammer it and push it out. We're making progress. We're not making progress. So I did not expect this to be the longest part of the video. Good grief, we're out. There we go, that's that out. And the other one, well, that didn't require a tool. And we can see the inside of the bottom bracket of the Trek frame. Here we can see the extracted BB90 bottom brackets, the Trek kit. After 14 months or so, there's a fair amount of deterioration. This one was on the non-drive side. Now, the one on the drive side here hasn't deteriorated as much and seems to be running fine. That one isn't running as smooth. Now, confession time. When I originally fitted this bearing, I think the plastic dust cover cum diameter reducer here popped off and I had to force it back in, and I may well have cracked it slightly in doing so, and this might be the cause of all of the cracking, creaking. I'm hoping that the simpler system provided by Token, which seems to provide more natural protection from the elements, will be a better solution. Quick word actually on what this is made of. This bit in the middle, the telescopic bit with the threads, is an alloy. Obviously we have the bearing in there. It seems to me to be a reasonable quality, lightweight bottom bracket. So let's have a quick dry run before we do it proper. I think obviously both sides fit into here and screw in sort of thusly, and that'll sit in there. This might actually be quite straightforward. Quick sidebar on price and availability. Who says sidebar? What a dick. I got the bottom bracket itself from Merlin Cycles, an online retailer here in the UK. It seemed widely available, albeit out of stock in a lot of places. I had to enter my email address to be notified when it came back in, which it did, and I bought it. So that was pretty straightforward. It cost me £45, which from memory is not dissimilar in cost from the replacement bearing kit that Trek itself supplies for its BB90 bottom bracket. If you're in the US, you can buy directly from Token. If you're in Europe, well, I imagine there are online bike stores that will supply you there as well. Or alternatively, you can buy direct from a Polish Token website. Why do I know? Well, whilst buying the bottom bracket was fairly straightforward, buying the tool that you need in order to fit it, more in that in a moment, was not. It was out of stock absolutely everywhere with no sign of it coming back in. I tried the UK distributor, no luck there. In the end, I had to contact Token directly. They said that there was a shipment due in the UK at the end of September with the distributor. That didn't seem to turn up. Alternatively, they said I could order it direct from this Polish website, which in the end I did, and actually it wasn't too much hassle. Despite Brexit and all the other woes befalling us here in the UK, turned out to be reasonably straightforward, and it wasn't that expensive. I think the all-in cost of buying the tool and shipping it here to the UK was £29 equivalent, which for the price of peace of mind in my bottom bracket, I was prepared to pay. So stop guffing around, Mont, use the bleeping tool, get off your stool and fit the bleeping bottom bracket. All right, I will. Really? Oh yes, I should probably say that I use this as an excuse to go out and buy the large torque wrench from Park Tool, 120 quid, so not quite the reasonably priced maintenance exercise that I envisaged at the start of this process, but everyone loves a Park Tool torque wrench, don't they? Shock horror, I'm reading the instructions. This cup, this side here, the larger diameter piece, is the left hand side. This goes on the non-drive side, and the other one, the slightly smaller diameter, which has the threads on it here, goes on the drive side. So you have to thread the bottom bracket together by hand until the cups are touching the housing on the bike frame. Now it's time to use the rather sexy metal Token tool. Which one do we put it in? Let's put it in here. Let's do some close-ups. So why does it need a dedicated tool? I haven't quite got to grips with why the tool has to go through the bottom bracket, but anyway, I don't know if you can see here. There are indentations, sort of inner splines, if you like, on the bottom bracket. Let's go around the other side, maybe you can see a bit easier. There, you can see them there. These indentations here, and those indentations are where the tool fits into thusly, and there it's a nice snug fit. And now I need to use the torque wrench to tighten it up to between 20 and 30 Newton meters, which is actually quite a broad range. No, 25 to 30 Newton meters. So let's do that. Oh, bugger, that's not big enough. So Houston, we have a problem. I was all smug having bought my brand new Park Tool torque wrench. I assumed this would just slot into the tool for fixing the bottom bracket and all would be good. But unfortunately, the driver on my Park Tool torque wrench is too small for the aperture on the Token Ninja bracket fitting tool. And now I need to go and find out if I can get an adapter, which probably means I'm not completing this video today. Bonza. Sleep, sleep, sleep. And we're back in the room. In the intervening week since we last spoke, I have purchased this, which is a driver adapter, which goes on, I think, the 3/8 driver on the torque wrench here. And, oh yes, press button on back of head. And now that has changed it, I think, into a 1/2 inch driver, which should fit into the bottom bracket Token tool. So let's tighten. I'm a titan. I'm a titan. So the Token bottom bracket tool goes back into here. I've set the torque on the torque wrench to 28, being halfway, more or less, between the 25 to 30 Newton meters range specified. I'm now going to push it in, he says. there we go. Torqued up appropriately. And actually that was pretty straightforward. Wonder what I've done wrong. Right, let's get the crankset back in and the chain on. Actually, before I do that, let's have a little bit of a close-up. You can see that the Token bottom bracket appears to be nicely seated in the carbon frame here. The way that the design works, where it screws together, is intended to give the bottom bracket more stiffness and generally reduce creaking, because it doesn't simply have the bearings sat here in the carbon housing. It's all one connected bottom bracket, which should, once wrapped around my crankset, offer unparalleled stiffness. And then on the other side here, you can see it seems to be turning rather nicely. Before I fit the crankset, I must remember that there are 2 spacers supplied with the bottom bracket, which sort of go in front of the bearings, provide a little bit of protection, as well as reducing any potential for play, because there's a gap between the outside of the bottom bracket and the rest of the drivetrain. Anyway, let's get it in there. Drink coffee, admire handiwork. Bit of grease on the old shaft. I mentioned the spacer here. That's going to go in front of here, and actually provides quite a handy reminder on said spacer as to what the appropriate torque setting is for the bottom bracket. Anyway, he inserts the crank shaft into there. Joy, it fits. Spin el bicicleta. Right, we are on the non-drive side of the spacer. Goes on. And then we have our other pedal crank here, he says. That's on there. Pre-tensioning plastic bolty thing. Remember kids, finger tight. Don't use a torque wrench for this bit. Finger tight it is. Put that into there. There's a little washer that goes in there. Does it go smoothly? That, my friends, is the sound of greasy silence. So I'll try to do a close-up. Very difficult to see, but there literally is no gap through which the elements will intrude into my bottom bracket. Let's try around the other side. I'm sorry, but this all sort of feels rather good. Chain on time. Gil knows what they put in these things. Okay, that's done. The Token BB90 replacement bottom bracket has been installed, and I must admit it wasn't too hard, apart from the removal of the original bottom bracket bearings and having to purchase a new adapter for my torque wrench. Hopefully you'll avoid both of those issues. If you give this a go, please do let me know in the comments below how you get on. If you've already got a Token bottom bracket or any other non-Trek BB90 bottom bracket, then please do let me know as well. All that's left for me to do now is to ride the damn thing and find out whether it's as good as it seems to be. silk. Seems good. Onward. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, then please do remember to give it a big thumbs up. One final thing before you go, I just noticed as part of making this video that there's another maintenance issue that I need to address on my bike, and it relates to the rear wheel on my Campagnolo Zonda wheel set, which is normally bomb-proof, but appears that there's a hell of a lot of play in the rear hub down here, which makes me think that the bearings might need at least refurbishing, if not replacing. Job for another video, methinks. Make sure you subscribe to see it. Laters!